PowerTrip. What an amazing lineup. I'll be sharing some thoughts of each of the bands as well as my overall thoughts by the end of this video. Up first was Iron Maiden, one of my favorite bands of all time. They can never really disappoint live. Even people who aren't fans or active haters of them can never get enough of Iron Maiden. They are a phenomenal band with perfect live performances. Some of the tracks that really stood out to me during the live show was The Prisoner, a deep cut off of Number of the Beast, their biggest album. Death of the Celts was amazing, a new track from the latest album, which was absolutely killer. Alexander the Great was up next. It's a personal favorite of mine, and this is the first tour they've ever played it since its release in 1986, so seeing it was very surreal. And beginning the encore with Hell on Earth, the last track from the latest record, was phenomenal. Talk about an underrated song that they absolutely destroyed live. Overall, Iron Maiden was an absolute 10 out of 10 performance. The second band that first night was Guns N' Roses. And it really disappoints me to say that they were subpar. Guns N' Roses has been one of the greatest rock and roll bands since its founding back in the late 80s and early 90s. They, especially since Duff McKagan slash rejoined, have been absolutely dominating the world with their live music, but unfortunately, it was just not that great of a performance. And if I could sum up the entire set, it was because they were not playing their best. Axl was the key component of this, and he had shown up late to sound check, which made me originally think that he was going to be 1991 Use Your Illusion Tour Axl, meaning he was going to do whatever he wanted and be a diva. And although he did play and show up, the band couldn't follow in suit, and so unfortunately Duff and Slash, followed by the rest, were just kind of like, we'll try our best, but we can't do much. It's Axl going to be Axl. And like I said, it wasn't bad, but I saw them at Fenway Park this previous summer in August, and they were significantly better. It was a night and day comparison, to be perfectly frank. The only real highlight of the set for me was Duff McKagan singing a cover of TVI by the Stooges. That was the best part. Axl, the lead singer, wasn't even on stage for the best part of the set. That sums it all up, in my opinion. I'm going to share a couple photos and videos with you from the rest of that night, though.
See that cat calculating you.
Second day started, and the first band up was Judas effing Priest. Judas Priest has always been one of my favorite bands of all time, and they did not disappoint this night at all. This first shot that you see is not the one that I had for the rest of the show because the people around me were not the best crowd to be around, and so I decided to move. But it was still a great show nonetheless. But when Judas Priest sat down and decided what they were going to play tonight, they sat around and said, "What does Liam Slosby want to hear tonight?" That set list was everything I could have asked for and more from a Judas Priest set. I heard almost every single song I wanted to hear that I hadn't heard live yet from the first time I saw them, and it was phenomenal. Which is such as things like with their cover of Diamonds and Rust, and Sentinel was phenomenal, and Metal Gods with Glenn Tipton coming out on stage. And for those of you who don't know, he hasn't been touring with the band recently because unfortunately he suffers from Parkinson's, and so it's tough for him to play. And seeing him was an absolute treat. They slowed it down so he could play a bit easier with them, and it didn't change the set at all. It didn't make anything worse. It just made it actually better because you heard one of the greatest guitarists of all time play. Here are some photos and videos from that. The second band on the second night was the triumphant return of AC/DC. Oh my god. I cannot believe I saw the Rock Gods. They brought it back, they killed it, and unfortunately I think this is their last thing, but they're going out on their own terms, and those are good terms to be going out on. The set was great, and songs such as If You Want Blood, You Got It and Let There Be Rock owned the entire night. Classics such as Back in Black and Highway to Hell were also good, but just every single thing about this was amazing, and being able to see them, even if it's their last performance ever, is an honor. Tool was never really a band I quite loved. I only got into them recently a couple weeks ago in preparation for PowerTrip, and I really started to enjoy them, but they weren't one of my all-time favorites. But they absolutely destroyed on this set. I mean, talk about an amazing performance and going nonstop for 2.5 hours. I mean, they really, really killed it. The set list was not great, but the performance was what mattered, and they still had great tracks like The Pot and the Grudge, Nemia. I mean, they brought back some of the classics they haven't played for years, and they were really just a delight to see live. Metallica. I'm still at a loss for words, even over a week and a half later. If Maiden was a 10 out of 10 performance, the Metallica blew it out of the water with at least a 15 out of 10. The set was filled with phenomenal classics, and I felt like I was dreaming. Uh, Rob and Kirk, after a couple songs, had a little jam session, which was very cool. They wrote a little segment that they played. They play one for each show, write a new thing. It's just about 2 minutes, and it was really fun seeing them just up close, having a good time together. I'm only sharing a few of the clips I took because it was so good. I took clips from most of the set, but some of the songs like Orion and Sad But True absolutely ruled the night. And by the end of the performance, at the end of Master of Puppets, with the final clip I'm going to be showing you, James says everything about this festival. honestly, I had such a good time at PowerTrip that I didn't really notice a whole lot of the issues, but there were certainly some with the way the festival was run as a whole. The worst was absolutely that the wristbands did not work for a good chunk of the time. When I first got there, they sent us the wrong box of wristbands. So when we got there, my dad and I were at the front. We got in, we scanned, it was red. We had to go back, get new wristbands, and it turned out all right, and it was all good. But just the fact that that happened was very annoying. The second day it says yellow. We can't get through. Although one of the older security guys lets me through, and Dad goes in and he goes back, and it's because we were supposed to sign out, but the security guards were blocking the things we had to sign out on and weren't telling us to sign out the night before. So how are we supposed to do it that time? Eventually, the last day, we just went there from the start, reset, and it was all good, and we got green, and so we got the entire traffic light. We got red, yellow, green. So that was really annoying. They were absolutely understaffed in terms of security. During Metallica, my sister and parents were at the back fence while I was towards the front, and people were physically jumping over the fence on top of my sister, and security was doing nothing. And so, lack of security in areas that they needed it in was certainly a thing. Training was absolutely an issue. Uh, but luckily, like I said, the wristband people were so lovely. They were nice to us every single day that we went there. There were new people each day, and they were just the best every time. Made sure everything, and they went, "Oh yeah, this happens a lot. We're sorry." They were just lovely and great at their jobs. Food was a little overpriced, but that's to be expected at a festival like this. I mean, you can't expect it not to be. And there were some audio hiccups here and there. The only set that didn't have any was Metallica's. During Iron Maiden, one of my favorite songs, like I mentioned earlier, Hell on Earth, during my favorite part of Bruce, his mic cut out for about 10 seconds. Very annoyed about that. But, overall, everything was great. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't think Power Trip will happen again. I think it's a one and done. But if it does, who knows? I might go back. But now, I have to say, this has been one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I hope you enjoyed my first segment. I'll catch you on the next one. And finally, we have our first segment of the local part of my show, and we're going to be starting with some record stores. The first of which is Armageddon Records out in Cambridge, Massachusetts at Harvard Square. This is an awesome record store for a very specific type of genre. It very focused on metal and hardcore punk, and has a lot of cool stuff to offer. You find it on this circular building at a doorway that goes down to the basement section of the building, and you are welcomed by this awesome sign with the dual flying V's and the moniker with everything that they offer and where you can find them. And yeah, let's walk on in. When you first enter and you look straight ahead, you're greeted with a ton of retro and classic posters and signs from this entire era, starting with some very cool looking ones with some Slayer, some Black Sabbath. You can see some Motorhead, Van Halen, and Judas Priest, really emphasizing the type of music this store has to offer. Looking just to the left, you can see some more posters scattered throughout the entire wall with some hardcore legends, such as like the local band Slapshot. You can see some Negative FX, Bad Brains, and Gang Green on the left. The main poster being the Venom and Exodus tour above on the door, and some more posters just all throughout the wall. Minor Threat, Foos, I mean, everything. It just, once again, really captures what this store is all about, trying to maintain the kind of music that its shopping group, mainly people like me, metalheads and punks, that really do enjoy this type of music. As you can see, there are some more types of posters scattered throughout the vinyl. This is generally the more type of vinyl that they don't specialize in. In the center of the store is the like back-to-back vinyls of just straight up metal and hardcore punk. This has some of the other stuff that they offer, though. They are a record store, not only limited to this one specific type. You can see some of the flags, such as Motorhead and Ozzy Osbourne, on the walls, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. Really encapsulate. It's all stuff you can purchase with a bunch of different types of merchandise that you can hang up around your house and on your walls. that really just makes it so much fun to be shopping here and just thinking about, oh, maybe I want to put that in my room, maybe I don't. I mean, and while you're going through the vinyl that you're excited to play right when you get home. And then, of course, they can't be a metal store without offering some metal T-shirts. This section right here is line is always packed with different types of T-shirts. They're constantly getting in. They have a plethora of different bands and sizes. I saw a Typo Negative one I thought about getting, but it was a little small. And on top of that, they offer their own merchandise with their store merch, like these shirts right here. They have stickers, and they actually have vinyl player covers, of which I have actually purchased before in my past. And it's just really fun being able to represent the store with their own merch. And one of the things I truly love about it at the end of this whole, like, after you've bought all your stuff, you're walking out, is they have a poster with all the local metal stuff and rock coming to the area. And it really just shows that they care about the local metal and rock scene and punk. And it really is, it's quite nice to see that there's a store that really still is trying to maintain a level of just connection and importance to all of these, you know, local bands and bands that are coming in and playing smaller venues that aren't exactly Metallica or the Foo Fighters. So yeah, these are some of the things I ended up purchasing when I was out there getting all my photos for this review. I got the first and second Merciful Fate albums on CD because they are two of my favorites right now, and I wanted to have hard copies. And this is where, once again, it really shows the type of thing they have. The vinyl that these two CDs are sitting on top of is called Eastern Darkness by Psy. Now, Psy is a band that has just around 10,000 followers on Instagram, is a Japanese black metal band, and is very not known except by people in the black metal community and people who like to dig deep like myself and find these types of artists. And so having a vinyl like this at a store is incredibly rare, and for $22.99 compared to other stores in the area that can charge an album like this upwards of $40 is a real steal, and again another reason why I really appreciate this store. Overall, Armageddon is absolutely one of my favorite record stores ever, let alone in the Boston area. And I can easily say that if you like this type of music, you have to visit there in your lifetime. It is a must see, and honestly, I have no critiques whatsoever. It's a great, great record shop. I'll see you guys on the next segment. The next store up, as you can see here, is Village Vinyl and Hi-Fi, located in Coolidge Corner, Brookline. Like with Armageddon, when I tell you about this record store, I have nothing but praise for this place. It has just, the atmosphere is so awesome. You have constant artwork on the wall with like some with specific artists, like you can see up there with people like Tom Morello and Trent Reznor. Um, when you first enter, you hear the vinyl playing, and you hear constant like songs from their own vinyl that they're selling playing in the background, and that's just, you can really appreciate that. You can see all the cool little knickknacks they have up behind the counter in this photo. Then you'll see later they also sell some audio equipment like speakers and vinyl players. So if you need a start on your vinyl journey, I would recommend coming to this place. They have such a good selection of different genres, a lot of great pop, a lot of great rock, a lot of great metal, and a lot of great jazz, and some great hip-hop stuff. I was able to get my favorite hip-hop record of all time here. Just talk about a varied selection, and with it being just as flawless as it is, it's amazing. Um, you know, you'll see here in a sec the wall of CDs. There's a couple of them, and it's just so awesome to go scrolling through them because you love looking at CDs. Um, and then you'll see in this final shot, it's always packed. Um, it has such a great selection. It's always there. Whenever I'm there, there's at least three other people in that store with me. Once again, going back to the selection, I was actually talking to one of the employees. They constantly get in used records that they'll stay up late every single night, sorting and pricing to put into it. So the next day, some of the stuff in that store has just been got there, and it's constantly having new stuff. Going off of that, like I said just a second ago, The prices, oh my gosh, just like Armageddon, absolutely fair prices. You have certain local chains up and down everywhere. As much as I love it, Amoeba Records, I don't want to pay $45 for one vinyl. Whereas if it's sealed at Amoeba, and then I come to Hi and Fi and it's sealed, I'll get it for quite literally half of the price. Their prices are just so good, and for the selection they have, it just blows my mind every time. You can see on the sides of the walls here above the vinyl, they have specific vinyls. Those are specialty stuff, such as original pressings or limited edition runs. And that's always awesome to see because I've seen original Metallica pressings, I've seen original Danzig pressings, original B-52s last time I was there. And if you have a friend group with different music tastes, this is the perfect place to either shop or bring them because, like I said, the variety is phenomenal. I have two friends' birthdays coming up, and I was able to get them stuff I knew they would love instantly without having to dig around for such a long time. And at the same time, I was able to find stuff I have been searching weeks for. Just overall, the selection is amazing. This store, once again, like Armageddon, I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just amazing. I love it. And whenever I come here, I just smile instantly because I know I'll be walking out with something I've always wanted. I'll see you guys on the next segment. And for the final segment I have for my music show, let me talk about my three favorite venues located in Massachusetts. Starting off with my third favorite is the Palladium located in Worcester. If I had to say what a certain type of venue this would be, I would say that this is the metal venue within Massachusetts. I have not been to this venue, and not seen a metal show. Every single time I've been there has been something heavy and very just awesome metal music, no matter what. The layout's very cool. As you can see where those guys are standing, that's the GA, like that's the floor, but everywhere up behind them, except for those bar stools and the bar couches, is GA. So you can stand against those railings. And then if you look up at the mezzanine, there's that front row of chairs that you can pay extra to sit in, but behind those are also chairs that give you GA access. So really, GA, you're able to go anywhere and see anything that you want to see in regards to this show. Venue for a show that you're there. And now I will say, if you really want to see that band, get there early and get close up to the front by the stage where the barrier will be, because it's not in place in this photo. Because, like I said, there's room everywhere. There's really not a lot of great views for GA. So if you want a floor, you got to make sure you got there at least 30 minutes early to make sure that you're guaranteed a spot, because otherwise you won't be able to get that close access for your the band you're seeing. The bands that tend to headline there are generally metal legends, but they don't have super mainstream popularity. Bands like Metallica and Iron Maiden that are playing arenas. It's your bands like Cannibal Corpse, Dragon Force, and a band I'm actually going to see on the 20th, Lorna Shore. The main floor, like I said, is really only the critique that it's a bit smaller compared to the other floors, but overall, it's a super fun venue. I've been in the mezzanine. I've been on the railing, up on those little chair areas on the GA main area, and I've been at the gate for shows. I've been at like the three main different areas, and I gotta tell you, audio quality's solid, not great, but solid throughout all. I would say if you definitely want the experience of the live band, get up close. If you don't care, go to the mezzanine. But if you want the best audio quality, try to get there early and get the first floor railing spot right above the main GA floor. Overall, great venue, and I have a lot of fun every time I'm there. Next up, we have the newest venue on my three favorites, the MGM Music Hall, located attached to Fenway Park in downtown Boston. And this is just a phenomenal, phenomenal venue. The audio system is definitely the best. I haven't had a seat, but because I always like to, the GA floor, there are no bad views whatsoever, and so I always try to get a GA ticket. I have the most fun in those, but the audio quality is perfect. I have been in a show where I've been at the very back wall, behind and below where this camera angle is, and then literally on the railing, not right up by it like at Palladium, literally on the railing for other shows, and the audio is the exact same. I don't know what they did specifically with it, but the audio designers did a phenomenal job and deserve a raise because this was perfectly designed for that. Not many venues can offer that. Like I said, Palladium, it's solid throughout all, but not every place has perfect audio quality no matter where you are. The floor is very spacious and can fit a bunch of people. This is one of the higher capacity venues. I would say this is probably the biggest venue. I believe it's bigger than Mansfield, the Xfinity Center, but then it's right below where like the arenas where you get like your DCU Center and TD Garden. It's right below that. So it's the upper echelon of venues in terms of size. Um, a lot of sized like artists that are very big throughout the world um, play this venue a lot, and they're generally headliners at massive international festivals such as Mastodon, Gojira, Judas Priest, Billy Idol. If I had to take a guess, I would say if he ever came through again, Iggy Pop would play at this venue. Um, Social Distortion and Bad Religion just announced a show there. So really, a lot of legacy acts that have more popularity than the bands that are playing the Palladium sized. Um, I also have to say, security is the best out of any venue I've seen. The head of front they have, I call this guy called Hatebreed because the first time I saw him was actually at House of Blues, and he had a Hatebreed shirt on, and being at the front of house, he's the guy. He is tall, he's jacked, he's your classic New England dude, and he's lifting up these guys that are at least like 180, probably more like 220 pounds, like they're nothing, and just especially at metal concerts. And so security is really well run at this venue, and probably one of the better things I have to say about it. Overall, I'd argue this is probably the best venue within the Massachusetts area, but the next one is one I just prefer personally. And of course, you can't talk about Massachusetts venues without talking the House of Blues in Boston. Now, this is my favorite venue for a plethora of different memories and just experiences, on top of it being a legitimately great venue. Um, this is, while there are different House of Blueses throughout the country that bands generally play at when they tour on top of the Boston one, based off clips and venues like way that's situated I've seen, it's not as good as the Boston House of Blues. We definitely got have one of the better ones. I have a ton of great memories here with both family and friends. Just a plethora of different genres. The audio is really solid throughout. Like I said, it's not going to be as good as MGM because MGM was designed that way. But House of Blues still has great audio quality no matter where I are. I've been at the very front and I've been at the very back for this show, and it sounds great no matter where you are. The floor has a great view. It's probably the second best floor after MGM again. And just the way they situate it with the different levels, it's great. The views are always great. They tend to book bands that are a little smaller than the MGM bands. The MGM bands that I mentioned used to play smaller places like House of Blues because there was nowhere else, but now they do play MGM. So the bands that you're going to get at House of Blues more often are bands like the Cult, Trivium metal band came here, Echo and the Bunnymen play there, Ministry, Industrial Legends. I mean, those are the kind of bands that are really legendary within their scenes, but don't quite have the full mainstream to be playing at like an 8,500 person place like MGM. And so it's a great venue for a lot of great bands. Everything sounds amazing. Like I said, security is great, almost as good as MGM. And for whatever reason, the bands at this venue seem to be more energetic and be playing more. So they definitely come to play. I appreciate you enjoying if you watched my music show. I really hope you enjoyed it. I did put a lot of time and effort into writing each script and figuring out which places I want to cover. I hope you enjoyed the Power Trip segment, even though that isn't, necessarily Massachusetts based. It was definitely a monumental moment for music. I showed you probably my two favorite record stores within the Massachusetts area. I hope you enjoyed those. And of course, I showed my three favorite venues to end it because without live music, music is almost pointless. So I appreciate you watching it. And yeah, thanks for watching.